Abhijit, for sharing your experiences. Um, these are the challenges of digitization that you rightly uh, share with us. And I think it's heartening to know that the School of Cultural Text, Jammu University, has applied for a possible digitization of the Little Magazine Center. Hopefully, it will go through, and if it is a success, then it will be a wonderful thing, because I think that repository is amazing. So we and as part of the research, I think we don't have much time for it, but still, it would be necessary from the research perspective also to know whether you can, because you mentioned about the Bangladesh Sahitya Parishad and also the Nagari Prasadini Parishad, right? Rajani Sabha Kashi. So, I mean, are there other possible areas within Bengal? Because it's easier to do things within Bengal compared to having mobility to other parts, because these are the challenges that we have, taking the camera and other things. The proximity always helps in research in that way. But that said, I think, can you share, or do you have in mind other areas and archives available within Bengal which needs our attention that perhaps we didn't think about it?
Yes, that is actually a very valid and important question, but also it is a slightly delicate question in that often certain organizations are resistant to this idea. You see, there is also an organizational ethos. I will not name organizations, but there are very venerable organizations in Bengal who have found it difficult to, wholeheartedly enter this field, which they could have done from their resources. A decade or so ago, and this time I will actually mention names, we from the SCTR we made a overture to the Srirampur College Library that their extraordinary archive, printed as well as manuscript material, William Carey, practically the father of printing in Bengal. We said that we'll do it for you, but we did not receive a very positive response. I mean, certainly the faculty members were very keen, but those who were in charge of running the college were, we were rebuffed, as it were. And which I think is a great loss, because you see, that material in Srirampur is absolutely essential to any understanding of the early years of printing in Bengal. The Baptist archives, I think there is one in Oxford and the one in Basel. They still hold material which I think has not been seen by any scholar. And Srirampur material certainly, and I think recently there has been some attempt to digitize it, but it's not anywhere online or it's not public knowledge. Likewise, one is also concerned about the fate of libraries, such as the Chaitanya, Gupta and others. No, you see, the problem is many of these are either private owned or owned by, partially funded by government. So there are many, I mean, if you are a third party go and say that we are going to digitize the material, we may not always be welcome. And there is also this feeling that if it is digitized, then people will even stop, or whatever few people were coming will stop coming, right? The footfalls will even decrease. So there is that fear as well. I think that was also the case with the Little Magazine Library. I mean, some material was digitized, but when it was found on the Heidelberg site, then I think Shandibabu said, no, if it is all there, then who's going to come here? So it is a human concern. I mean, we cannot be judgmental about it and say that why we do not allow this. But with other organizations, there is a need. There is a very crying need, because material, and even in the National Library, I mean, I again don't know how far the National Library's digitization efforts have been successful. When Shravan Chakraborty was, I knew a little bit about what was happening when Shravan Chakraborty was the director. But again, it is not easy to find it online. I mean, they have two websites. Now, where this material is given, I mean, the interface is very, very difficult. So maybe it has happened, but how does the general reader access that material? It is not easily available. But we also know we're working on the short title catalog project, and later the 2 centuries of Indian print projects. This was a project which SCTR did with British Library, where we tried to digitize unique printed South Asian material held by the British Library. For instance, because we did a bibliographical project for Bengali print from 1801 to 1914, we were able to tell the British Library that during this period, these are the titles in your collection which are unique, which are not held by anyone. So, for example, between 1801 and 1867, that is the year of the Press and Registration Act, and that is where the Jyotirndra Mohan Bhattacharya collection also catalogs. Out of about 2,500 roughly Bengali printed books, about 20%, British Library had 20% unique titles which were not held by any other library in the world. So we were able to tell them that these are your unique titles. These should be digitized first. But I know that in certain cases you find or another organization which again has a fantastic collection, but again is Asiatic Society. And in many cases in their catalogue, when you ask for certain things, it comes back with the legend not found. Now again, that mismatch between the catalogue and what is there on the stack is something which again a digitization project can resolve. So these are the gaps, this is lacking, these are the absences. And then there is also the question of things which actually should not. So in the case of National Library, I can tell this myself that an 1861 book called Shivjit Charitra, Shivaji was called Shivjit Charitra, which should not have been issued, was issued to me. It actually fell to pieces in my hand. That's just crumbled. Now again, when you're doing projects like this, you also have to make judgments on what should be digitized, what cannot be digitized, what can be laminated, what cannot be laminated, what can never be lent out. Now all of these, the libraries need to have policies which clearly spell out that this is the state of the material, state of the archive, and so on and so forth. That kind of stock taking needs to be done in a more systematic way, not in a haphazard way. Again, I don't know, I have a very little connection with either any of these organizations now. So I don't know, maybe the things have changed or there are initiatives to digitize what really is endangered. But sometimes I fear that some materials have passed beyond the reach of any archaeological tool because they have either vanished or they have fallen to pieces or they are not. So within Bengal, I think there's no dearth of such material, but to have access for digitizing is a slightly more challenging issue. To persuade the owners or the custodians that this is a good thing. You will not be a loser for this. It will add to your. That is sometimes a difficult conversation.
Thank you. These are the problems that we all encounter. And you are right. I mean, recently we had another seminar, the project that we have on the minor intellectual traditions of Bengal. And Professor Tony Stewart of Vanderbilt University, he delivered his talk and we asked him a question. He kept on repeating that there are vast amounts of archival materials that we still haven't mapped, and it is necessary for a better research on the Vaishnava tradition of Bengal and the Sahajiya tradition of Bengal. So we asked him why we get the list, so he showed the Asiatic Society, the bibliography list and other things. So I think you mentioned Asiatic Society in other places, so there are, these are the possibilities.
If I may add something to the Vaishnava tradition, we are about to finish a project with the Bhakti Vedanta Research Society. They have themselves digitized a huge amount of Nodia, Prakash, Vaishnava, 19th and 20th century journals. So, and that digitization has been done in-house and at a very high level. So what we are doing now is we are creating the website so that all these can be searched. So these will be searchable by word. So you see, the problem with many archives in Indic script is that there is no OCR or optical character recognition software which makes them searchable by words. You can only get the image of the. So, but in this case, the project has been to transcribe. First create an OCR, and in those cases where OCR is poor, we have to transcribe. So that project should be over in October this year. And there you will get a huge repository of Vaishnava printed.
Who is doing that?
So SCTR is doing it with the Bhakti Vedanta Research Society. So they have done the digitization, we are creating the interface and the searchable. It's a very, there are a lot of demands, so it's a very demanding project in that everything has to be very searchable. So that website has been created, beta version is already online, and so that is going to be a huge body of material. printed 19th as well as 20th century material of journals, which among other things have portion of content. But there's also not, so in Nodia Prakash, for instance, or others, they have also they're not only publishing portion of this. So this would be of interest of anyone working in 19th century periodicals and so on and forth. So this is almost done. So that is, again, funding was available. They're a rich organization, you know, it's not difficult to. But again, so therefore we did not have to go to EAP or anything else. But it came, the commission came from the Bhakti Vedanta Research Society itself. So that is again time bound, and that is not really our material. That is their material, which will be made available online for researchers and with a customized website and a searching.
Thank
Can I
you.
make a comment? Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Am I audible?
Yes.
You have raised the issue of Asiatic Society. At present, I am Vice President Asiatic Society. And that is the reason. But here I came not to represent Asiatic Society, but another organization which has also got a very valuable collection, that is Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad. You have mentioned Bongiyo Sahitya Parishad, but not this one.
No, he has mentioned.
You have mentioned. I came late, so I'm sorry.
Yes.
Regarding Asiatic Society, I just want to share a piece of information with all of you. That is, we have digitized right now by maintaining all paraphernalia, but like tender, etc. 11,000 manuscripts. Very rare, Fort William collection. These manuscripts actually belong to Fort William, and what at one point of time they were transferred to Asiatic Society. We have several collections like Asiatic Tipu Sultan collection, government collection, Fort William collection. Right now, because central government was very much insistent on that point, we have digitized 11,000 manuscripts from Fort William collection, and we are going to put it in our website. So that is just a piece of information which I want to intend to share with all of you in the perspective of what Professor Gupta is saying. And secondly, this is another, this is regarding the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad also, which me and my colleague Professor Ruma Bandyopadhyay are representing this institution. We have also several rare books, but at the same time, one point should be remembered, that is, small organizations do not have that financial strength to digitize, because it is a expensive process. We cannot do, even if we like, even if we give access to all of you, we cannot do as per our intention because of dearth of fund also. That is there. So we have to take, we have a conservation center also in Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, which is Manuscript Resource Center, which is funded by NMM, National Manuscript Mission. It is a conservation center, but not digitization center. The most unfortunate part of the story is that NMM has digitized, has started digitizing our manuscripts in Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, but it suddenly stopped due to some, either from technical glitches or from something, but it has not yet been completed. So we are in a disarray. We don't know what to do, and we don't have that resource that we can do it ourselves. And since it is already half done, we cannot take it up also. So these are some of the problems. And another point which I want to emphasize in the perspective of what Professor Gupta said regarding that Shandip Datta's Little Magazine Lab. It is excellent. I personally, when Mr. Datta was alive, I personally got so much help. I was writing an article on Nietzsche, and I didn't get any material except books to consult. But he has some rare magazines, very rare, very old, which has that information. So it is but in Bangla we call it Ratno Bhandar. It is a treasure trove. And if what Professor Gupta has right now said, if it can be digitized, it will be of immense help to the researchers. Thank you.
We thank Professor Tapati Mukhopadhyay, President of the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, for her comments. And actually, this is the purpose of such research colloquiums, that we get to know each other. Yeah, Abhijit.
There can be no better news than the first news. The 11,000 manuscripts have been digitized. But for Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, যেটা বলছেন যে it cannot be, it's already begun. You could actually, you see, with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce papers which we are currently doing, we also did that in two halves. The first half we did with one funding body, the second half we are doing with it can be done. So let us say, if you have a second, if you can divide the material into two halves, that which was begun by the NMM.
They will not give permission. They have to take permission. They have to take permission.
Because it is central body.
Their website also seems very static and moribund. কিছু নতুন কিছু হচ্ছে বলতে
আমরা কিছু করতে পারছি না, বুঝলেন তো? আমি চাইছি দিতে, আমরা চাইছি
this is certainly, I have to solutions for this, but the Asiatic Society is great news. It is, if it is, I myself am looking for 2 manuscripts. So I'm a college English for but
But till Bengal Chamber of Commerce can finance.
ওদের কোনো পয়সা নেই। আমার বেঙ্গল চেম্বার অফ কমার্স ইন্ডাস্ট্রি সাউন্ডস ভেরি, why will they, that is, anyone will ask this question, why are you doing it for Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry? Because they will, but they have premises, they have, anyway, the thing is that, you see, there's also a story behind this. Several years ago, Ratan Tata Foundation gave some money for doing number of digitization projects. So that we did half of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and we could not finish it. That money ran out. So this time there was, so they have not only their own reports but other organizations like T-Board, Jute Board, other reports which are very valuable for the economic history of India.
Reserve Bank of India is also.
But Reserve Bank though is a government body. Now Bengal Chamber of Commerce is a private body, so you can actually go into these MOUs with them easily. But with a government organization, RBI, just forget about it. It's not possible, I think. It is easier with BCCI, which is because it has this. So now we are also trying to talk with Hockey India after the Burbucks project. They're also not very bothered about these things. That hockey also needs. If you think of sports, that is a very difficult area. People who are working on football, East Bengal, Mohun, there are no papers. Everything has been lost. I have a PhD student who is working on fan cultures on the Moidan, especially with Mohammedan's sporting. He said that it's absolutely no material, no papers. None of the clubs have any archives. So if you do not have the archives, with scholarly organizations at least they have the archives, but with other organizations like sports bodies and so on and so forth, that consciousness is not there. So.
Thank you for the conversation. We're happy to mention that as part of the 1546 project, the project that we are running, it has 2 parts. One is to digitize the Mohammadi Society archive. The other one is to make servant the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad. We already went there. We are happy that Professor Tapati Mukhopadhyay, President of the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, Dr. Uma Bandyopadhyay, Secretary of the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, and Mr. Ashish Chakraborty, librarian and archivist of Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, are here with us today. In fact, as part of this project, after the digitization of the research analysis of the Mohammadi Society, the other aspect of this project is to go and to make lists and repositories of the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad, so that we were told by the British Library that as part of the next larger project, we can digitize excellent archival materials which are there at the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad. So we have to stick to time. The conversation is going on brilliantly, and that is, as I said, part of the colloquium that we get to know. Maybe there are many small town archives that we have to look for, but that we will get to know from each other.